Now, last year, the police stats showed that 64,514 sexual offences were reported in Mzansi. That means that 176 sexual offences took place every single day in this country. Now, apart from her business interests, Andy plays a significant role in social development. She has a keen interest in education and youth development and currently has 6 mentors in her portfolio. She is also interested in the advocacy work against gender-based violence in South Africa and is a founder and chairman of the Kwanele Enough campaign. Andy, thank you very much for joining me in studio this evening.
Thank you, Faith, and your listeners.
Now, I think the most important thing is that for those who do not know who Andy is, and of course we're going to go into the story, but I just gave basically just a brief introduction to let people know that, you know, we're talking about a woman here who's really achieved quite a bit. I mean, as the business and social entrepreneur that you are, and of course with sitting on quite a big board. In fact, you're interested in, your company's got interest in platinum mining, if I'm not incorrect.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So I'd actually like us to talk about unfortunately because of the time, let's talk about what happened on is it in December, on the 10th of, if I'm not incorrect, on the 10th of December 2010.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Faith, and the listeners. You know, I'd like to share my story because I think that, and share it publicly and openly.
Yeah.
Or at 2:30 p.m. It's important. It was daylight on a summer day. I was taking a short walk along the beach with an intention of getting home and taking a flight to Joburg. This was in Port Elizabeth. The 15-minute walk ended up being a 15-hour of gang rape. I understand now, initially I thought there were 3, now I understand there were 5 people. And I was nearly killed. I had a knife on my throat, but I really tried to do whatever the perpetrators were saying I should do so that I could save my life. I was just bargaining all the time for my life. And that's one of the things that, you know, I think that if at all you are in that dangerous situation, sometimes you want to fight, but then, you know, you're likely to be killed. You know, it's just such a precarious situation.
You know, Andy, when we're speaking about the story, the numerous times that we have spoken about it and about the incident, one thing that came through, because I think even when somebody's listening at home right now, it's almost incomprehensible about, you know, the ordeal that you went through. And of course, you mentioned quite clearly that it was from 2:30 in the afternoon until 6 a.m. the next morning.
Yes.
And I think that's the most important thing, is for people to understand that it was from 2:30, the time that you got captured, until 6 o'clock in the morning that you had to endure being gang raped by 5 people.
Yes.
What has happened since then? I mean, from the time that when you got up, and it's quite very important that, you know, you try to be as sensitive as possible when you're dealing with this, because I believe that we are going to be exposing, first of all, you know, the people that are perpetrators, but more importantly, we're going to be encouraging young women and men to speak out, so that they can say enough is enough. What happened after 6 o'clock?
I think, Faith, I'll just talk briefly about the night and why I started the campaign. I think that, and then bridge on to 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
I think that there were 2 things that were very clear to me, was that it was a random thing, and the perpetrators, because they are there and they are bush dwellers, they were going to take somebody. Now I've got a 22-year-old my daughter was 22-year-old that day.
Yeah.
And as I was being raped, I kept on saying, you know, if I saved a child and they've taken me, it's okay. And then another thing, during the night as I was praying to God, I was saying, God, if they can just save my life, and then I promise that I will do something about what has happened and what I've seen, because I think that I've been listening to rape and not doing anything. Now I decided it's time to do something. And then you asked me afterwards. I think that afterwards I've just encountered a string of silence and running around, and a justice system that hasn't been, that's shown me a lot of flaws. It's over 2 years now. I'm not sure where the investigation is. There have not been convictions of rape, And you understand, PE is one street, the Summer Strand. And if at all, I think that I was to be an investigator, I would have found the perpetrators.
I actually wanted to talk about the perpetrators because you have a startling photograph that I was able to see regarding the perpetrators, and I think it was actually a reflection of the justice system that we've got. I'd like us to speak about this after the break. Remember, as I said, if you do want to ask a question, do you have a comment to make? Tonight we're saying Kwanele, enough is enough. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly straight after this. All right, we are speaking to Andy Kawa. She is a South African mother, a businesswoman, and a mentor to several young people. Now, she endured 15 hours of hell when she was abducted and raped by a gang of 5 men in Kings Beach in Port Elizabeth just over 2 years ago. We are sharing her story. She's in studio this evening and basically giving us her story and in fact, the series of events. And on top of that, what has happened since then. I asked you particularly about 6 a.m. because you said that was the time that the perpetrators actually left after they had decided that, hey, they're going to spare your life, because I understand that there was that bargaining during the night of, do we kill her? Do we not? What was, before we even go to the 6 o'clock, what was that like for you, Andy, to have to hear people bargaining on your life, telling, asking each other, do we kill her? Do we not? And you are there.
I think that I was praying every second. You didn't know what's going to happen the next second. So I was living life a second at a time.
And when it happened at 6 o'clock that they did not, in fact, kill you, I understand that you were blindfolded. Is that correct?
Yes, I was blindfolded, and actually I made up a story I made up a long story, and the main perpetrator then wanted me to be his girlfriend, so I agreed. So
during the rape, during the night, so they can save your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that when I left, he actually thought he had a girlfriend. He knew where I was staying because I gave them an address of where I used to stay when I was in Port Elizabeth. So I think that he saved me because he thought he would see me the following evening, which is a very bizarre story.
And when you got up, and of course, did you make your way to a hospital or to a clinic to go get checked up to see what, and lay a charge of rape against these perpetrators?
Well, the main thing was that there was an opportunity for police at that time, around that time, to have caught some of the perpetrators, because we made a call around 6:30.
Yeah.
And we did not get a response for about 45 minutes. And we could actually, at some point, the person who rescued me, we could see some people washing that were bush dwellers that had slept at the beach. So that was a first fatal flaw, that, the responsiveness, because it's very important to have all the evidence gathered, hopefully, at that time, and if not, within the next 48 hours. I think that was the main fatal flaw. And of course, I did go through, the process of going to the district attorney, getting all the evidence that they could get from my body and making all the reports. And I urge people that it's important to have your case cannot be administered in courts if at all there is no evidence. So it's important that you go to the district attorney and be checked.
Andy, I'm going to go into this discussion because it was one that I think it's pertinent, but we don't discuss it enough. Is that a lot of times when people come out, whether they've been molested or they've been raped, the first thing they want to do is wash it off.
Yes.
So the first thing they think is that I'm dirty, I've just been stained, and I need to take a bath and wash. And that, in fact, is to their detriment because they're washing the evidence off.
Yes.
And I think that is important for every young woman, or especially every young man as well, to know that as soon as that happens, go get yourself checked out. Don't think of the washing. It's difficult, Andy. Yes. Would you not say it is very difficult to deal with the fact?
Because I only got to take a shower at around 4 o'clock
that afternoon.
But I think that I was more interested in getting ARVs, and I was a little bit concerned that I was being delayed taking one statement after the other, whereas my goal was to
get the ARVs
grab the ARVs as soon as possible.
Let's talk about what happened after the charge of rape had been laid. What happened to the perpetrators? Were they arrested? Were the bush dwellers arrested? Was there a follow-up?
Well, I mean, it is it's still a case that's going to go into court. So I don't want to go into details, but at this, what I can say that I know is that up to now, I'm not sure. I've not been told whether they have arrested anybody. There are alleged perpetrators, but the investigation has been very haphazard. That I'm not sure that proper investigation has been done on the case.
In fact, there's a time that you even mentioned that during a march, in fact, you had mobilized and marched in PE obviously in respect to your campaign of Kwanele Enough is Enough.
Yes.
And once you'd mobilized people, you actually spotted one of your perpetrators and even took a picture of that individual.
Well, it was bizarre. I think that, based on the information that we have from the people around who had discussions with the perpetrators.
Yeah.
I think that we saw two, a father and a son,
Yes.
who were alleged perpetrators.
Yes.
And bush dwellers.
Yes.
They were so high that they were willing to take Kwanele placards, and I took photos with them.
These are your alleged rapists.
Yes,
These are
yeah.
based on the evidence that had been gathered at the time. These were your alleged rapists, and they even were willing to take the placards and take a photograph with you.
Yes, because they were so out of it. They were so drugged.
Yeah.
And I think my concern was that they were out there in the same place, and it was December, and that's where people go to the bush. So people were still, young people, old people were still vulnerable to people I would call serial rapists who were out there.
Now, if you do not know, while the number of reported rape incidents is shocking, underreporting is an even bigger problem especially in the Gauteng province. The Medical Research Council, basically, they received the latest research results, and what that reveals is that only one in 25 women in Gauteng report rape. Please remember that before I read to you a statistic that every 4 minutes a woman is raped in South Africa, and on top of that, that equates to 176 cases every single day. However, only 1 in 25 women in Gauteng report rape. What can you do? And what do you do to say stop rape and say Kwanele enough, it is enough? We'll be speaking more to Andy Kawa straight after the break. I think the most important thing, obviously, that you are still in the midst of finding justice. And so far what has resonated is that, and it's difficult to admit that what has resonated is that you report the case. First of all, the response time is lagging. You report the case, the perpetrators, or the alleged perpetrators for that matter, they come out and they, to a point where they even sit with you and take photographs with you. And that in itself is a reflection of the system that we need to seriously stand up and fight against, because if we don't voice our grievances, nothing is going to be done. And I'm saying we because it is a collective thing. It is a collective thing, because that's how rape is going to be stopped, when you can know and we trust that the police are going to do something about it, and that the justice system is actually going to work in our favor as the people that have been affected by the scourge. And in fact, you've come up with a campaign which is Kwanele Enough is Enough. Let's talk a little bit about that. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but I'd like us to talk about Kwanele Enough is Enough, but not only that, about the 1 billion rising campaign which is happening on Thursday.
Okay. As I said before, I thought that I would never be able to live with myself in South Africa if I do nothing about this.
Yeah.
I think that in the last 2 years, I got exposed to a number of cases of people. Because I was open about it,
Yeah.
I wasn't silent, I was talking about it. So people were confiding in me about being raped. I think that it opened my eyes, because the people I talked to were of different ages, were of different races, were of different social classes. So rape doesn't discriminate. They were also boys. And one of the alleged perpetrators, who had also stolen my clothes, also has 3 other cases. One is a boy who was 16 years old when he was raped and who is 18 now. So I think that it's important for us to even understand that boys and men do get raped.
Yes.
And Kwanele Enough is trying to break the chain of silence. I think that there is silence. Rape happens in the home. Rape happens in the families, in our communities. And we're saying, let's stop the intergenerational silence. That is what Kwanele is saying.
And how do we break the silence? And I think that the most important thing that you've mentioned, first of all, is that rape can happen to anybody. In fact, I remember that we were having a discussion a little bit earlier on, and you mentioned how, in your understanding, you do not understand, how can this happen to me? I'm a businesswoman. I'm a mother. I've got a future. I've got a hope. I was going somewhere that morning that it happened. I had a motive, I had an objective. And one would almost sit back and go, but how can this happen to me? How can this happen to me? Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important to sort of, do away with the stereotype that it happens to people that are drunk, sitting somewhere in a tavern. But it really is. It's a problem that can happen to anybody.
Yes, I think that it happens to everybody in South Africa. From cradle, I think that the cases of 1 month old up to 94. Those are cases that we have had. So anybody is a victim. Women, men, girls and boys.
Let's talk about the 1 Billion Rising campaign, and that is happening on Thursday, in fact, where it's an initiative by Eve Ensler, and in the hope to mobilize the 1 billion people to stand up and really speak about rape and even gender-based violence or of any sort, of any sexual offenses. Mm-hmm. How is your role in that? What are you going to be doing for the 1 Billion Rising happening on Thursday? And how do young people get involved? How do listeners get involved in that campaign?
Well, the 1 Billion Rising is really an initiative that Eve initiated as a catalyst, and has asked various people around the globe to participate in, where we stand up and say we rise against rape and gender-based violence. Now, the rising can be anything. As young people, you can just gather and somewhere, but you've got to be conscious that your reason for gathering on that day is to say that we do stand up against rape and gender-based violence. If you go on either the Kwanele website or the 1 Billion Rising website.
Let's mention the Kwanele website very quickly.
The Kwanele website is www.kwanele-enuf.co.za. I've got a Facebook page there where you can chat with me, or my Twitter handles is @KwaneleEnough. And then the 1 Billion Rising website is www.1billionrising.org. It's very easy to participate. Anybody can participate. And what you need to do is to log onto that website, and you just go through that. It asks you where you are. It's important for them to know where you are, because they are gathering all the statistics around the world. How many people will be there with you and what you're going to do. Whether you will be in a restaurant and raise champagne, or whether you will be in the streets or in school and just spend few moments in rising. One of the things I'm doing on Thursday, I'm going to a shelter of abused women.
Yes.
With one of the law firms, Routledge Modise, and we will be serving the abused women with scones and sandwiches for breakfast.
To make them feel good.
To make them feel good. And then I'm rising in different places then with some schools, 2 schools, and then I'll join Wits, and then I'll go to the Constitutional Hill. And anybody and everybody, I think that at the Constitutional Hill is welcome, but you can also do your rise at home, with colleagues, at work. Just organize, put your name out there, be part of the global mobilization against gender-based violence and rape, because it can affect all of us.
And we're back. We're saying, Kwanele, enough is enough. Mobilize yourself so that we can finally say no to rape and no to the violation, because we do not want another Anine Boyson situation. We do not want to only mobilize ourselves and say no when another 17-year-old or a 16-year-old or 1-year-old or even a 9-month-old baby has to be killed or brutally mutilated before we can stand up as a nation and say, you know what, this is actually wrong. I believe that I do have Tebogo on the line. Tebogo, good evening. I'm very well, thanks, Sanju. Your comment?
One of my colleagues got raped about 2 weeks ago, and we reckon on a very, very low self-esteem. That's how we have to accommodate her and make her feel better each and every day. But I think that she is a strong woman, and we're trying to encourage everybody to come to the march that we're organizing, which will be held, I think, this month or next month. We're still organizing stuff. And then I'll let everybody know where the march will be, because we're holding it in Soweto.
Thank you very much, Deboko. In fact, all the best for that march. In fact, I'd like to be present. And Andy, if you do have time, I'd like us to actually be present at that march.
Absolutely.
Because, yeah, when people start saying enough is enough and they stand up and mobilize against that, something can be done. Deboko, thank you very much for that. I'm actually hoping that, the colleague of yours does get the necessary help that she does need. Thank you very much for that one. I believe that we've got a next caller. Hi, good evening. Welcome to Current Affairs. What's your name? Bongani, what's your comment?
The topic of
I seem to have lost Bongani there. I think that we need to get back on to the next caller. Hi, good evening. Hi. I'm very well, thanks to you. What's your comment? You've also been raped. And did you get the necessary help that you need? You know what? Unfortunately, look, what I would like to say, first of all, is that it was not right. It's not okay. It was indecent. And I would like to ensure, if you do not have the help, and if you have not as yet seen somebody to counsel you, I would like to propose people that will, counsel you. And let's get you some help. Will you allow us to do that? It's issues like that. It's issues like that when you have a woman phoning in. I did not get your name, but if you do want us to get you help, give me a ring again, 011 772 0992. I will put you through to my producer. We will get you the help that you need. We will even refer you to the relevant counsellors. And Andy, you are here as well to speak to her. Let's take another caller. Good evening. You're on Y? Hello? Hi. This is just a reflection of the type of callers, and this is the situation of the issue that we're dealing with. I do believe that we do have the previous caller. Good evening. Hi. Manana, I'm going to put you through to my producer. He will take down your numbers and all of your details. I will forward these to Andy, and let's see if we can get you some help, Manana. You are very brave, first of all, for coming onto the show and openly saying that you've been raped. But it's time for you to say, Kwanele, enough is enough, and it truly is, Manana. And you can get help, and we will ensure that you do get that necessary help if you will allow us to help you. Okay? Thank you very much. Next caller. Hi. Good evening. You're live on one. I seem to be losing that caller as well. Unfortunately, our phone lines are a little bit bad. If you would like to get in touch with us, please do so. Get in touch with us on our Twitter account. You can tweet me at Faith Mangope or tweet at YCurrent. And let's see if we can get help and finally say enough. Kwanele enough is enough. Good evening. What's your name? Hello. Hi. What's your name? I'm very well. Thanks. Send you your comment. Yes, you can remain anonymous. Go ahead, anonymous. You're 28, yes? Mm. Yeah. Anonymous, look, I would like to get you help, because I think that for the mere fact that you decided to give us a call, you've shown how brave that you are, and thank you very much for speaking out and for exposing the situation. But now let's get you help. Let's ensure that this just does not get left to a phone call. It's one thing phoning into a radio station, but it's another thing actually getting the help. I'm going to forward you I'm going to put your details through to my producer. My producer will take down your name and your contact details, and then we will refer you to someone who can help you. Okay? But thank you very much for being brave. You are brave, and you are highly commended for being brave enough to say stop, enough. So thank you very much for that. Okay, we can take about 2 more callers, because unfortunately we have to wrap up and we are running out of time. You're on YFM. Good evening. Hi, how are you? Pardon? Hi, babe. You're a healthcare worker, yes? Mm. You're right, it is true. Something does need to be done. And if that's where we start, by praying, then it's enough. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming on board and actually, speaking out about this. And I think, Andy, the most important thing, unfortunately, we've run out of time, is that when men come onto the show and say, listen, I've also been a victim of rape, and they don't know what to do. When women come out and are still tearing up and are still crying over the issue because they have not spoken about it, that's a problem. That's where we do need to say enough is enough.
Absolutely, Faith. I think that the people out, it is a long road to recovery, but I usually say to everybody who has been raped, you're still precious. I think that the stigma is usually put on rapists. We've got to put on victims. We need to put the stigma where it belongs, to the perpetrators. There is no shame that you have as a victim. You are not dirty. You are just a beautiful individual who was violated. And let's say shame to rapists.
Now, if you were listening to the show and if you've been any of my callers, whether it's you, Anonymous, or it's you, Manana, do feel free to send me an email, faith@yfm.co.za, or you can email YFM at yfmcurrentaffairs.co.za, and we'll see if we can get you the necessary help that you do need, and forward you even your contact details to the necessary help. So that is faith@yfm.co.za or ycurrent@yfm.co.za. Email us. We want to get you help. We do need to say enough is enough. Kwanele, this needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. Thank you very much for joining us for another edition of YFM Current Affairs. Andy, thank you very much once again for being brave to speak about this issue and really expose it.
Thank you.
Until next time, for myself and the team, I say to you, salute.
YFM Current Affairs.